Hey, welcome back. So I guess the consensus, maybe not overwhelming consensus, but the consensus is that we're going to call this One More Thing with Jesse Dollemore. Maybe we'll have some guests. Who knows what we do with this particular segment. Again, like I said, we're still going to do the green screen stuff. The channel isn't really going to change that much. This is just an addition to the stuff that we do. Yesterday was, I think, by all accounts, a huge, huge day. As Donald Trump would say, huge. It was huge. Historic, to say the least. Up to this date, we've only had 3 presidents, 2 officially impeached. Andrew Johnson, the president who succeeded Lincoln, and then Bill Clinton in the 90s. They were impeached, and then they were getting ready to draw up articles of impeachment against Nixon when he resigned, knowing that his fate was sealed. And here we are. We haven't drawn official impeachment, articles of impeachment up, and it hasn't been voted on by the House, hasn't forwarded on to the Senate for a 2/3 majority trial vote there. And we'll get into that. That hasn't happened, so we're not quite there yet. But this is serious. Before I get into anything, I want to talk a little bit about, actually, before we get into this at all, I want to play a very brief segment of Nancy Pelosi's announcement. She took to the cameras and made about a 6-minute speech about her decision. And I want to play that before we move forward. So here it is.
The actions taken to date by the president have seriously violated the Constitution, especially when the president says, Article 2 says I can do whatever I want. For the past several months, we have been investigating in our committees and litigating in the courts, so the House can gather all the relevant facts and consider whether to exercise its full Article 1 powers, including a constitutional power of the utmost gravity, approval of articles of impeachment. And this week, the president has admitted to asking the president of Ukraine to take actions which would benefit him politically. The actions of the Trump presidency revealed the dishonorable fact of the president's betrayal of his oath of office, betrayal of our national security, and betrayal of the integrity of our elections. Therefore, today, I'm announcing the House of Representatives moving forward with an official impeachment inquiry. I'm directing our 6 committees to proceed with their investigations under that umbrella of impeachment inquiry. The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law.
So that was just a brief slice of what she said. I'm sure it's all over YouTube in many different places, from Politico to CNN, MSNBC. I'm sure even Fox News has a version of it online that you can watch the entire 6 minutes. But it is going to be one of those things. Go out and buy a paper today and save that newspaper. This is going to be one of those things that you can hand down to your grandkids. It's that momentous. It's that historical. It is that rare in the history of our republic. What I want to talk about, though, is what to expect going forward. This is just an impeachment inquiry. This isn't the end. I've seen a lot of celebration online from liberals and Democrats and people like me who have advocated for the impeachment of Donald Trump over the course of his almost entirety of his presidency. And I would advise against the raucous celebration, because this is just the beginning of the process. There's a lot more to come. Right now, she has kind of deputized, if you will, her 6 main committee chairmen and chairwomen with Maxine Waters to start investigating and start compiling the different articles that they might bring to the Senate in a trial, the charges against Donald Trump, the high crimes and misdemeanors. There's another avenue, though, that they could take, and I don't know what they're going to do. I would advise this. This is what I think they should do, and that is have what's called a select committee, which is made up of like kind of a rock star panel of people of congresswomen and congressmen who are more accurately suited for this type of investigative work. They would be on the committee, and they would compile the evidence and make the charges more rock solid in order to bring the articles of impeachment to a vote, which only has to pass the House by a 50% plus one margin. Just a simple majority in the House. There are other reasons why this is a big deal. It's a different day today than it was yesterday in the morning. And one of the reasons is because now there's an air of legitimacy relative to court battles now that it is an official impeachment inquiry. You see, when they subpoena witnesses or they subpoena documents for this case, oftentimes what you see, especially with the Trump administration, is a denial of witnesses. No, you can't go. Executive privilege. Well, that gets litigated. They go to the courts. And oftentimes, it's kind of a hit or miss whether the administration is going to win out or Congress is going to win out. Because after all, it is a co-equal branch of government. Well, when there's an official proceeding of impeachment, which is a constitutional activity outlined in Article 2, Section 4 of the Constitution, a court is going to be a lot more timid about squelching that, because it is, after all, a fundamental aspect of the balance of powers constitutionally. The other thing is they're going to have a lot more access to grand jury proceedings, the evidence that was gained and the testimony that was garnered in the course of a grand jury testimony, for instance, the Mueller probe. Coincidentally, I just got done serving on a federal grand jury, and there is a thing called the Federal Rules of Evidence 6E. And under 6E, there's a lot of secrecy involved in grand jury testimony, in not only what case they are looking at, but also the witnesses and the process therein. The only people that are allowed in a grand jury room are the United States Attorney or the Assistant United States Attorney, the witness, maybe the witness's interpreter. They can't have a lawyer in there even, and a stenographer, and then the grand jury. It's very secret, the process. So now, if the House wants to go forward with getting those grand jury details, they have more of a standing in court to have those released. That is a major thing. The other aspect of this that is solid is the fact that, especially with the Trump administration, I mean, all the efforts that they've gone through to try to get the taxes of Donald Trump, his tax returns, and the fight in court is that there's no legitimate legislative purpose to have those tax returns given to the Congress, even though there's a statute from the 1920s that says that it is legal, that it is they must give them over. That's neither here nor there. It's not a surprise that the Trump administration would flout the law and try to deny justice. However, that argument of no legitimate legislative purpose is out the window, because if there is an official impeachment proceeding, it's absolutely legitimate, it is absolutely constitutional, and there's really no way to argue around it, because it would be an active, public obstruction of the process, obstruction of justice to do so. So I don't see that being something that's gonna work going forward for Donald Trump. It's a bummer for the administration. So that is where we're looking right now. Now, as far as the optics of all of this, you're going to be seeing, well, we've already seen this. Let me go here to a couple of tweets that today that we saw. And this is misinformation that the right, that Republicans, that these dipshits in Congress are going to be trying to do, which is cloud the matter, muddy the waters, and obscure the facts. This is Mark Meadows, who is on the Oversight Committee of the House. He's from North Carolina. He says, "So we are all clear what's happening. House Democrats are supposedly beginning an impeachment inquiry and building it on an anonymous secondhand complaint they haven't seen, which describes a call transcript that they haven't read. You can't make it up." That's what he says. Well, let's be clear about what's happening here. The impeachment isn't even necessarily based on the transcript. It's not even necessarily based on the whistleblower complaint, which, by the way, will be released sometime today. It is based on Donald Trump's own admission that he had a call with President Zelensky of Ukraine and brought up the investigation of Joe Biden and some corruption aspects. We know now, after reporting that came out today, that they put on hold $391 million worth of military aid. So Donald Trump is using the national security of our country and the security of their country, which in turn does affect our nation, because it involves one of our biggest enemies who attacked our democracy in 2016 and has continued to do so through 2017, 2018, and now into 2019. And we foresee, all of the intelligence agencies understand, that 2020 will also be a target of Russia. So the incursions of Russia into Ukraine are what is at stake here for that money. That's what that money is for, is to press back against the possible annexation of Russia, of Ukraine by Russia. So Donald Trump has already admitted that. Now this reporting is coming out. Now he is switching all of his answers back and forth, whether it's, it was about corruption. Now it's about, Europe wasn't paying enough. None of that makes any sense whatsoever. So he has admitted it. We don't need, it will be just gravy. It'll be just icing on the cake, the cherry on top, as they say, to have the whistleblower complaint. Also, the whistleblower complaint, because they're talking about this secondhand complaint, it doesn't just involve the phone call. Now, we don't know the specific details, but it also involves other elements, disparate elements. And the other thing about dipshit Mark Meadows is that, so we're clear, House Democrats are supposedly beginning an impeachment inquiry and building it on an anonymous secondhand complaint. Well, it has to be anonymous because it deals with the intelligence community, and it's a whistleblower complaint, so it is anonymous. But this complaint is known. The details of this complaint are known by the intelligence community's Inspector General, Michael Atkinson, a Trump-appointed official. He has read the report. He does know what the complaint is and has deemed it credible and urgent. That is a big deal here. So don't allow, when you hear these MAGA hats like Mark Meadows say things to try to cloud the waters, don't allow it. This has been vetted, this claim. It is not a bogus claim. It has been vetted by Trump's own intelligence community Inspector General, and he has deemed it credible and urgent. The other one is Lee Zeldin, a congressman from New York, who says House Dems are launching an impeachment inquiry today based on a whistleblower complaint they haven't read and made by someone without any first-hand knowledge of what they are complaining about. House Dems aren't even willing to wait to read the full unredacted transcript first tomorrow. Again, not necessary. All of this is a diversion. It's jingling of keys, a shiny object to fling around. We don't need that. We know. We've read the 2 letters that I talked about 2 days ago from the Inspector General of the intelligence community, dated September 9th, if you want to look them up, and dated September 17th. I've actually put them in the info of my video from 2 days ago, the one that's like, guys, Donald Trump daring the Democrats to impeach him. I think that's the title of it. This is going forward. But again, just the beginning. This is just the beginning. What else did I want to talk about here? I don't know. I think that's it. I would love your comments. I would love your questions and suggestions. I want to make this segment more than me just yammering into a camera and talking to the audience. I want to start featuring listener questions. If you want to video yourself on your phone and submit those, I want to see that. I will answer those maybe once a week after we compile a few. I think that would be a good time. I also have a voicemail number if you'd like to submit a voicemail just for YouTube. It is 657-464-7609. It's also the voicemail for my podcast, but if you just say it's for YouTube, I can edit that out and we could play it on the air here, and I could answer questions. We could do that like a weekly segment or maybe a bi-weekly segment, depending on how much interest there is. I appreciate you guys. I want to grow this operation here as much as we can. And one of the ways I'll be able to do that is through YouTube channel memberships. If you click that join button, I don't know if it's available yet on the iPhone, but on your desktop, there's a join button under the video. And if you were to click that for as little as less than $2 a month, you could become a channel member. And I've said it before, and I'll probably continue to say it, but if I could marshal the size of my audience, if only 1% of my audience became channel members, even at that $2 level, it would be fantastic. And it would also completely untether me from worry about demonetization. I mean, the video I put out today was a 15-minute video about, or 2 days ago, the 12 or whatever minute video about Donald Trump and the daring to impeach. That was demonetized for 2 full days. And I have no idea why. And then after 2 days, I'm whining here a little bit, but YouTube decided to monetize it. I'm not given a reason. It doesn't matter. But I wouldn't have to worry about that. They got a business to run. I'm not bitching. But I wouldn't have to worry about that if I was able to marshal the size of my audience and have a larger percentage of you be channel members and help me produce this content, help me move the conversation forward like I am always passionate about doing. So again, those numbers, 657-464-7609, or of course you could, I guess I didn't give the email address, but you could video yourself, just a brief question, and you could email it to idoubt@dollemore.com. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.